He's James Collins.
He is Alec Cranston, and this is the
Matter of Fax podcast.
The Matter of Fax podcast brings you the unsung heroes, the unsung stories, news and happenings from across our wonderful city that you maybe thought happened but didn't quite know the truth behind.
And get you all in the loop on what's going on, what's to come, and what can we be prepared for.
Welcome to Matter of Fax, Season 2, Episode 7. Super excited about this one. We have a tremendous guest on here today and a couple fun topics. Happy to be here in the Podstarter studio. Beautiful studio, beautiful lighting, beautiful LED light, beautiful
hosts,
people, beautiful hosts, producers. Everybody, top to bottom, we love it here. I enjoy coming here every month. I'm here seated next to my esteemed co-host, Mr. James Collins.
Well, I appreciate it because you always use the word esteemed, and it's never a word I would use. I would use sexy, handsome, refined.
In my head, I use that.
But I never esteemed, so I'm very grateful. Good to be back. Feels like winter out there. It really is winter right now. Because in Atlantic Canada, we sort of pretend it isn't winter, the end of the year. We say, well, we don't get much snow this side of Christmas. And then, we really get into it. And I'm feeling it right now. It's been a rough few months, which we'll get to in a second. And I'm feeling winter, aren't you?
Incredibly so. It's funny, as a kid, I used to someone say, oh, what's your favorite season? I used to actually say winter. I don't know why the psychotic in me would say winter's my favorite season. I think it's because I like the backyard rinks and skating. But now that I don't do that anymore, I hate the cold. Because I coach hockey a lot, so it's going into the freezing rink and then coming out to. It's actually warmer inside the rink nowadays than it is outside, and that's a brutal awakening to come.
This is the season where you store your vegetables and everything, on the deck, and your beer on the deck because it's colder. But you know what my favorite season is?
What season is that?
Season 2.
Hey,
of the Matter of
nice.
Fax podcast. I can't believe we're episode 7 already. Time is flying.
Because that would be a total of, because we did 12, so it's our 19th episode. We're almost at 20. I know, I'm just
How have we not? We've never had
along.
a fight about the podcast, you and I.
No,
we've never disagreed. We're on side with everything we do.
We go with the flow.
I think we need some drama right now. Next episode, some kind of bust up and divide our listenership and see where the loyalty lays.
Let's spend the next month finding a topic that you and I have polar opposite opinions on and are strongly opinionated on, and then just go at it.
Non-real estate related.
Otherwise, we could get in a mesh of trouble.
Yeah. Well, we will go into Insane as the Crane. Before we do that, to take things to a slightly somber level, we are joined in the studio today by Tucker, who was in this studio back in December, created havoc. We later learned he pooped in the kitchen here at Podstarter, and everyone was too polite to tell us for a couple of days. Tucker was running around creating havoc. We lost Tucker last Tuesday. He'd been very ill since the start of the year. We never really got to the bottom. I wrote a eulogy on LinkedIn, which
beautiful.
It's had 4,500 views now, and I've had so many messages about it. And we kind of go through the story there. Tucker was a 13-year-old Yorkie poo. We'd had him for 12 years. Wonderful dog. Didn't have children. He was the child. He fell sick quite suddenly the 2nd of January this year. We never really got to the bottom. There was a congestive heart failure diagnosis, some bad bronchitis, and we were hoping to get him to the vet hospital in PEI last week for a kind of head-to-toe evaluation, and he just got too sick too quickly, and unfortunately we had the vet come to the house last Tuesday. So very sad, very tough time for my wife and I, but we have Tucker here in the studio with us today, the best little boy in the world, and just not much I can say. I've cried myself dry, and that's all I will say about that. We love the guy, and we're pleased that he had made an appearance on the podcast. The joke I'm getting to here, because Brits always need to cut through uncomfortable stuff with a joke, is this is the time, if this was a really popular podcast, where we would say, and now we're going to roll Tucker's best of reel. But being a dog who can't speak English, it would just be sort of a minute and a half of growling and woofing. So we're not going to roll his best of here on Matter of Fax. But we love you, buddy.
Yeah,
okay, on with the podcast.
Always a part of the Matter of Fax crew.
And just to give Alec some kudos here, we've been through a very tough time losing our first and only dog and child, essentially. And Alec here was great. He offered support, and so many people came out of the woodwork. But we expected you to, and you did, and you delivered. So your kind messages there were literally, we cried over them. So thank you.
Of course. of course.
And now we will pivot. Now we've depressed everyone. In winter, we will awkwardly come back to our first segment, which is what? I always forget what it's called.
Insane as the crane.
Insane as the crane. Insane as the crane. Kinda insane like the crane.
Do you like snow?
Insane as the crane.
Do I like snow? I hate it.
Well, there's been, as of today, according to data from Halifax Airport, there has been 132.2 centimeters of cumulative snow. Now, we've had a lot of snow, 2 major snowstorms this month already. It is officially the snowiest February on record, 3 times the normal amount. Alec, it is your first winter as a homeowner.
It is.
Tell us how you've been adjusting to the shovel.
It's been quite an adjustment because I kind of just think I was in apartments for 5 years, so I was just like, I never had to worry about snow. We parked in the parking garage. I didn't have to do any snow removal.
Not like you're going to call the super up and say, hey, it's Alec in apartment 53.
Get up to my balcony.
Just figured I'd help you tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Exactly. No, thank you. I paid enough to live there. It was definitely an adjustment. I've gotten better into the routine of like, I got to get up and I got to shovel right away kind of thing, because I let it go the first time. That first big snowfall we had, I kind of had the mentality like, well, we're snowed in. No one's going to come here. We're going to work here from home and then it'll melt or it'll go away. And I was wrong. People did come over and they couldn't get into our house because of how high up the snow was. So
these are legit visitors, not like break-ins.
No, legit visitors. The break-ins, they came up through the window.
That's good.
The legit visitors came through the front and they couldn't get through. So I had to go out and shovel. And I shoveled it. And then our snowplow came, which is just a private contractor. So it's just a little thing. And he just does a cow path. But he pushed it all into our driveway again. I was leaving. I was in a rush to get to a showing. And there was still snow. And I was like, I don't have time to do this.
You have a private contract for your house?
No, for the street.
Oh, for the street.
Yeah.
I was just going to call you an entitled yuppie if you were like, oh yeah. Because I'm a big believer that if you're, you can raise your hands above your head, even if you're 90, you got to shovel your own
yeah.
snow.
And
it's one of the major calorie burns that every Canadian is entitled to.
I should have. And I got lazy and I was like, you know what? I got to go. I'm in a rush. I got an SUV, winter tires, and I just went vroom and reversed over the hump, got out of there. But then I got into a habit of just, I can get over the hump again. And then just never did anything with it. It just froze over.
You sound like a Tony Robbins inspirational speech. You can get over
and
that
that's what
hump.
I kept doing.
There is a hump on the driveway. You will reverse over it. You will feel the inspiration in your heart. You will put your foot on the gas and you will reverse over life's humps.
And that's what I try to tell Jenna, because I was okay with it. But then I watched her try and get out of the driveway for the first time since the storm. And she's just going, whoa, 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 hitting it. And I was like, I'm in trouble.
Do that noise again.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
And what was happening on the driveway?
She was trying to get back out of the driveway and she couldn't get over the hump. Like she wasn't giving it enough gas. She's trying to reverse and she can't get it out. And so she was getting mad at me because I didn't shovel the little strip there. She eventually was able to get over the hump. She got out of it, and then she took off. So then I came out and I finished the job, but we're good now.
Okay, good. Snow removal, of course, if you look at anything with a snowstorm in this part of the country, it tends to form the major debate. The municipality can never keep up. The snow budgets or removal budget's always too small. Everyone complains about it. I've got one really bad bug to bear this year, which is highway off-ramps. Okay. So did you travel much on the highways?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, the issue there, and I am in awe and heavily respect our snow removal teams across HRMs. This has nothing to do with them. This is aimed at the policymakers at City Hall. But the 102, for example, which I need to use everywhere I go because it's right behind my house, was clear as anything. It was like August on the 102. But the off-ramps weren't done. So I was consistently at, a legal speed limit of no more than 100 kilometers an hour.
Fair.
Coming off the highway, hitting the off-ramps, which were then basically like the Scotiabank Centre on a Thursday night. Mm-hmm. So I would come off the highway, I would hit the ramp, and then everything would start slipping and sliding, and you realize they have not cleared the on and off-ramps. So that's dangerous.
Big time.
Every day I was consistently texting my wife saying, be careful when you get off the highway because you're going to slip and slide and go crazy. So I don't know, either don't do the highways so nobody drives on them, or do the whole thing, which includes the roads you use to get on and off the highway. So that was one of my little things this year. I made a bunch of notes here. We had to discuss Alec's first year shoveling snow, which we've done. I wanted to have a rant about the off ramps and on and off.
I had an experience with that ramp. That I know exactly what you're talking about. I was coming coming onto the McKay, and you know that little turnoff before you hit the McKay Bridge coming from Dartmouth, and you veer off because you want to go to Lower Sackville or Bedford. So you go into Windmill.
Yeah.
That ramp right there was just nothing was done to it, and I drifted along it. Nothing was done to it, and I was going.
That's bad.
At a decent speed, nothing crazy for the viewers out there.
We have never exceeded the speed. I would never exceed the speed limits. The posted speed limits are there for a reason. In fact, there was a debate online in the snow about you should not drive in the snow unless you can drive the speed limit, which is stupid because you always adjust your driving to the conditions,
Absolutely.
right? We can Sass Connor here, we can beep out profanity, right? Join us on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely, gentlemen. We can beep out.
Do you have that? You have that little beep thing.
Yeah, bleeping is funny.
Yeah, we'll actually just use that right there.
Beep. If I was to use a really bad word that begins with F, that isn't fridge right now. There was a funny thing online. This is why I'm saying this. Somebody put on Reddit that when the snow fell last week, it's the day when Nova Scotians celebrate the annual "Why the f*** does anyone live here" day, and it always that made me giggle.
That'll be a nice bleep.
I have one morning every year coming from the UK where I didn't really see snow growing up, where I'm shoveling snow and I turn to my wife and I say, and I'll say it again because we like the beep sound, why the f*** did we choose to live here?
I don't know why the f*** we chose to live here. I just want to hear the beep sound.
Are you making them do the beep for you now?
Yeah. Fuck.
There we go.
Yeah,
That was
nice.
good. That was good.
Beautiful.
What else is on my snow removal rant list here? Oh yeah, everybody going on Reddit saying, what are the roads like? What are the roads like? What are the roads like? Or is this open? Is this open? Is this open? Well, if you've got Reddit, you got Google. Give them a call.
Yeah.
Give them a call.
100%.
Everyone's like, is Canadian Tire open right now? You want Redditors to go and figure it out and tell you? Just pick the phone up and call Canadian Tire.
You want to know what I take a little bit of a, what's the word? Words. Is it guilty pleasure? I don't know. Seeing people who either missed out on it or didn't listen or don't understand the winter parking ban and
getting destroyed.
Getting snagged by it. And there was somebody on our street. Again, I don't know who they are, so I'm not calling you out. Relax. But
it's John Smith at number 12.
They left their car there and I just saw ticket after ticket after ticket. They had like 3 or 4 tickets.
They ticket, I think, and I might be wrong, so fact check us and email us at halifaxpodcast@gmail.com if we're wrong. I believe it's every 4 hours the city can
Every 4
re-ticket
hours?
you. So
So-
if you do 12 hours, if you do 24 hours, you can be ticketed 8 times. Nope, that's wrong. That's bad math. 6 times.
Nice
Times.
job.
Everyone's laughing there.
That's good.
I'm a bereaved man. My brain isn't working.
No, it's
right now.
okay. And this person had covered it. Not only were they covered in parking tickets, they were covered in snow to the point where you could barely see the car anymore. Like just after the big snowfall, and they left it, and then the next snowfall came, and they were still there. It was so covered. I think whoever it was just gave up and said, "You know what? This is it. Like I'm not moving this thing." It was engulfed.
Wait till spring till it melts, then pay the fines.
Exactly. Oof. And then those are adding up, right? And then of course, if you don't pay within 45 days, it's $60 or whatever.
I was literally walking into the studio thinking how nice it was when parking tickets were $25. And if I had to be somewhere in a pinch, I would think, screw it, I'll just leave my car and pay the $25.
I didn't know they were $45. I got one
They
recently.
have gone up.
Yeah.
You got one?
For the first time in a long time. I went to park downtown
Bad
and for hockey
boy.
practice and just completely forgot to do the hotspot thing.
Well, $25 wasn't that much of a deterrent, really.
45 is.
45 is. This is the difference.
Mine's already been, Jenna, sorry. Mine's already been jacked up to 60 for failure to pay. So
Oh, Alec.
I'll get it done. Or I'll go to
There's
court.
50% interest,
I'll go to
technically.
court and fight them. I've been watching Suits a lot lately, so I could probably represent myself.
One more thing to finish off here on the snow. This was a hilarious graphic that was doing the rounds online. Did you see this one, Alec? I'll just turn it to you there.
Schools closed, police, buses.
Well, we'll read it. Actually, you can read it. So it's different entities and what they
okay.
say in the bad weather.
It's a cool graphic. Schools closed. Police, please stay home. Buses, we're not driving. City, please don't drive. Fire department, we're having a hard time getting to emergencies. Minimum wage bosses. So when are you coming in?
Isn't that so true?
Well, it's funny. It's like when we were the night of the storm, we didn't have any real, we didn't want to cook. We were being lazy. We were like, do you think one of those delivery spots is open? And sure enough, they were.
Yeah, I
So
feel
it's
sorry
like
for those people. And when my
Uber
wife...
driver Todd was going.
Oh, so actually,
You almost met
I'll
him.
tell you now, I almost met Todd the other day. I was putting out of the gym downtown and...
Slight flex. Yeah, going to the gym.
I was going to the gym. I just been, doing my personal best on my deadlift, and I pulled out, and my wife in the car went, "It's Alec." And I went, no, I said, that's a movie star. I said, Hugh Grant must be in the area for something. And then we got close and I thought, no, that is Alec. So we wound the window down and won't say what we said. We hurled a bit of abuse at him, claimed we'd come to arrest him for an awful crime. And then I was surprised because Alec said, well, Todd dropped me off. Now, it was a one-way street, but I was tempted to reverse back.
He was in the car waiting.
Just to say hello to Todd.
It's almost like this mysterious character that you still haven't seen in live.
I don't think you know your father. I think your father left the family when you were a toddler, and this Todd is just this sort of fantastical
man
my
imagination.
You created. Yeah,
that's like, that reminds me of when we were talking about with Jenna that time about the cat, having a cat your whole life. It really was a footstool. And
that's right.
So I love that one. Oh no, sorry, honey, that was a footstool, black footstool we had for 13 years.
You and I will be old enough though that will be our reality one day.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be like, where's the iguana? And Jen will say, we've never had an iguana. I'll be like, yes, we did. He's called Terry. He lives in a tank in the bathroom.
Sounds like you've thought this one out. Getting an iguana
I'm not told
Terry.
you about my iguana fantasy. We'll tell you later.
All right. Yeah, get into that later on.
We're gonna. So there's snow. So basically, the Coles notes of what we just discussed for the last 10 minutes is it snowed.
And it's insane.
And one thing that's always crazier than snow is Reddit. Halifax Reddit is, it's amazing free content for us. We just sit back for 30 days. We let that place fill up, and then we just turn around and read it. Good content. So let's go to Reddit Roundup.
Haligonians losing their minds over minor inconveniences.
Oh, the Reddit Roundup. I love this segment. I don't think we'll ever get rid of this one, unlike the New Kids on the Block.
That sucked. We did that like 4 times.
Well, the problem with New Kids on the Block was I think 2 or 3 of the ones we did it, and then 2 months later they closed for business. Yeah. Sorry to you businesses. Anyways, bad track record with that. Reddit Roundup. We have 2 Reddit threads today. One found by Sir James Collins, and one found by myself. This one was found by, I think this was found by James. It was it's in the Reddit Halifax thread, from Olive Hummus. What is the most unsettling place in Halifax? Stolen from the New Orleans subreddit. Kind of all over the place there.
I think we probably have fewer unsettling places in Halifax, but as normal, it was a mix of very serious, sincere answers up against the sublime.
Yeah.
Led at the top, there was a really boring one about McNabb's Island I have no interest in reading, but the next one was Mumford Road Walmart.
I love that one. Because it's so true. I grew up in the Mumford... I shouldn't say I grew up in the Mumford Road Walmart, but I went to St. Agnes Junior High.
At least you always had food, you always had clothes, you always had many convenience items at low prices.
I did. And the prices are actually pretty decent. Anyways, yeah, I agree with that. The Mumford Road Walmart and that staircase that wraps down from up where McDonald's is and down. Nightmare fuel. But that's definitely an unsettling place. From WWW0006. How'd they think of that name? Anyways, Victoria General. The hospital, I couldn't agree more. I worked at the Victoria General for 6 or 7 years.
It stopped being unsettling as soon as you quit, ironically enough. It was you, Alec.
It was me. I was unsettling. But it is true. It's like this person says, Flat Event says, it's like a creepy 50s hospital in a zombie movie, specifically at night. The tunnels. So there are these underground tunnels that branch out to every building of the VG. And they're terrifying. You got like pipe and exhaust running along the walls, and
they're always really hot, aren't they?
It's hot. It's dark. Yeah. Well, it's not. It's dark. It feels dark at night because there's no natural light. But you can, if you're the only one in the hallways, you can hear your echo, and they take you all over the place. Those are creepy, and they bring everything through there. Like I don't know if they bring people like patients through there, but I know they bring specimens and whatnot because they got to go to the lab. But anyways, very creepy and unsettling spot that they had mentioned. Any other ones you noticed on that?
Yeah, there was a good one. There was a really good one. Near the top, if you sort by best, it was from user He Who Breaks Things. Of course, they had to acknowledge it. Sitting in a car being asked to try on gloves.
Oh, no.
Yeah, one of my staples when people visit Halifax is you take them onto the waterfront, you drive them to Peggy's Cove, and then on the way back you tell them about Glove Guy.
That's my.
We did it with one of our clients. My wife and I took a good client of ours out who's from out of province who dropped in last year, and he arrived in a Glove Guy Virgin, and by the time he left, he was making the Glove Guy jokes.
Ooh,
he was making
them by that point,
and it had only been like 2 days that he'd been here. He was like making all the inappropriate jokes. So yeah, so that was one of the most unsettling places is Glove Guy's car, and underneath,
it's not a bad car. He keeps it clean.
Yeah, of course he does. That's so true.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, never any germs. You've always got the gloves on.
Yeah.
The user underneath said this subreddit, and I agree. I agree. It's probably the most unsettling, bottom-feeding place in the whole city is Halifax Reddit.
Oh, 100%. Very unsettling. No Boysenberry. 1108 said 5 fishermen's apparently haunted. We all know that.
So that was, correct me if I'm wrong, this is me being someone who's not lived here my whole life, that was the Titanic Morgue?
It was. For Titanic victims, yeah.
Titanic Morgue, okay.
This person made a full list. Did you see that one? Cola Cool.
Oof, yes,
So
yeah,
Cola
that's
Cool-
a heck of a one.
Cola Cool Squared. The melted cannon from the explosion at Albro Lake and Pine Hill over in Dartmouth. The shaft of the Mont Blanc's anchor. The 5-sided mystery structure in Bears Lake. Mystery. So mystery, much structure. The old library. Cole Harbor Heritage Place, site of the old Halifax Poor Farm. Essentially an asylum. I don't know where that is. I live in Cole Harbor, so I better take a look at that.
The House of Alec Cranston. What's anything about that?
Yeah, it's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
I haven't been in my attic yet. Haven't checked it out.
Apparently the snow clearance on that driveway, the snow shoveling.
Whoever's doing the snow
really
clearing on that
bad.
driveway
There's this
is
hump supposedly that the locals can't get over
The
with
hump
their car.
they can't get over the hump. They try and pull their car over the hump and they can't do it. Ooh, CJ_H said the Shambhala School. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Yeah, Shambhala. I played dodgeball there last night. This guy said I replaced their gym floor in 2008. The gym had been used to film Theodore the Tugboat and had once been used as a morgue. Are you kidding me?
That's why Theodore always had that creepy quality about him.
He's always up to something.
Always smiling, isn't he?
Anyways, that's a cool fact about Shambhala School. You got another one, James?
I do, and this is one that I can relate to. So this is Burnside. They said Burnside, Golden Mirabel, Burnside after dark. And as someone who's a complete sad act, who does a lot of work in Burnside, I do sometimes drive Burnside on a Sunday afternoon if I need to look at something. So if I'm databasing or I need to grab some data, it's really hard to do that in the day.
What's the difference between databasing and grabbing data?
Databasing and grabbing data, you steal one, you generate the other. Sometimes it's just so busy in the day, I will actually go out on a Sunday and I'll mix it with a run to the grocery store and I'll burn through Burnside and I'll go and look at 10 buildings.
Wow.
Burnside's one of those places, it's either just clogged in the day or a complete ghost town.
Let me see if there's anything. Oh, Brian McCabe. I think he's an NHL player. Oasis VLT room is an unsettling place. I agree. I've never won in the Oasis VLT room, but shout out to my buddy Riley. Me and him have definitely logged some hours in there playing wild.
You don't drink, right?
No. What else is there? I nominate all of Bears Lake. It's a dystopian car-dependent wasteland. Yikes.
Oh, yeah.
Someone said, the Shambhala Meditation Center. What's up with Shambhala, man? Scotia Square parking lot. Yee.
Yeah, I can see that because I get lost in it every time I go. I actually ran to a meeting in one of the tower blocks there about 3 weeks ago, and I parked at Scotia Square. I had 7 minutes until the meeting when I arrived, and I was still 5 minutes late because I was ending up on streets and I was trying to leave that place I didn't even know existed. I was ending up in buildings I didn't know existed. There was no semblance of a direct way to get out of my car into the goddamn office building above it.
Really?
So there's my rant done. Okay, so we found there's some unsettling places in Halifax, and we can actually segue. You go ahead here. Good segue into the next Reddit topic.
The next Reddit
because it's kind of sort of things and places.
This was found by me this morning. It's from Work DNC Sheets. In your opinion, what lives up to the hype and what doesn't in Halifax? This can be anything like restaurants, events, neighborhoods, etc.
In your opinion, what lives up to the hype and what doesn't in Halifax? That's a broad question. And the top comment I've got here from A_asparagus.
Hey, asparagus.
And this is the reason I'm mentioning this because I will talk about this now. Ferry ride on the top deck across the harbour. Best $2.75 spent, especially on a beautiful day. So, when I have folks come to Halifax, of which we have many, not being from here, friends, family, people coming over, there's a little kind of day that I do for them, which you start going out to Tim Hortons for breakfast, and then you go onto the waterfront, blah, blah, blah. I always include a trip to Dartmouth on the ferry. And if you just go to Dartmouth and come back, you can get the transfer ticket, so you only really pay one way. And I will tell you now, when I bring people to Halifax, and I always ask them at the end of the trip, like, what's some of the best stuff you did? And they've been on the Harbour Hopper, and they've been to Peggy's Cove, and everyone says, I loved that ferry ride over to Dartmouth. So I totally agree. For $2.75, it is the most fun you can have clothed in this city.
Yeah, I actually haven't been on it in a while. Now that I think about it, it's been some time. I'm about to go for a ride. This one comes from Sufficient Zucchini. So reading about Glove Guy, lives up to the hype. Doesn't live up to the hype. Getting offered a ride from Glove Guy.
I can see the disparity between the two of them.
Yeah, I've never been offered a ride from Glove Guy. I've offered to get in his, in his
I can
car.
stage it for you sometime. Just pull up.
Really?
I actually do have a new pair of gloves. Disappointingly warm. It's either it's too cold for the gloves or the gloves are just crap.
I need a new pair. So if you can connect me with Glove Guy, that would be stupendous.
Okay,
Stupendous,
we'll do that. Tig says, what does live up to the hype? Many things. What doesn't? The chicken burger. I will not disparage a local business on this podcast other than to say I may agree with that comment.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, I'm looking at that one now.
We don't want to tear them apart here on
I won't tear
but
apart
I will
either.
tell you that I have had many bad meals in my life all over the world. The chicken burger may or may not be on that list.
You know, I agree. Speaking of food, Johnny Bad Apple said does live up to the hype. Midtown Tavern. Somewhat agree. I love the Midtown. I spent a lot of time there during the World Juniors, but their food doesn't really do it for me. No offense, but their drinks do. Doesn't. Pizza Corner. It's a shell of its former glory. Agreed. People are way too obsessed about Pizza Corner. I do like Willie's. I like a nice poutine after a night out, but in terms of like the actual pizza itself, and there's these new pizza spots opening up, I don't know. I just don't think Pizza Corner has the hype that it...
There's too much pizza in this city. This person here, Special Honeydew 51, says the Public Gardens is a huge does, as in lives up to the hype. And I can tell you now, the Public Gardens is one of my favorite places in Halifax. And when we had our old office on Spring Garden Road and we were involved in a tough negotiation or a tough deal and things weren't really going to plan and it was a stressful day, one of my little therapeutic 30-minute excursions was to throw my pen down, slam my door, and go and walk around the Public Gardens. And it was really nice. And they used to do great hand-paddled ice cream in there as well. And if it's a warm day, you just strip down naked, you dive in the water. Everyone looks that you get arrested. It's a good day. And I really do like the Public Gardens. So yeah, I can...
Oh, nice. I got one from the Ritz show.
Put it on the Ritz.
I don't really get that reference. He or she wrote the potholes and the lower deck. So I'm going to assume he means the potholes live up to the hype, which is true.
Yeah.
And the lower deck doesn't.
They're kind of not really potholes. They're more sort of, craters.
Craters,
yeah. Media
You
craters,
beat me to it. Just absolute craters. Lower deck is overrated, in my opinion. That's a hot take. I think people are way too obsessed with it. The lines are crazy in the summer. To what? To stand in there, be shoulder to shoulder, barely move, hard to get a drink, loud music in your ears. It's the same thing over and over again. I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but I think the lower deck is extremely overrated. And in my opinion is if you're walking that far, you might as well keep going to the casino. It's right there. You can't win money at lower deck.
Yelp review 1 star.
Yeah, there's me going. Now, listen, lower deck holds a special place in my heart. We had our engagement party there, which was a surprise engagement party that we didn't know was happening. They had the second floor of the lower deck booked out for us. We thought we were just going to hang out.
Your future brother-in-law emailed me.
Yes.
We were in the Valley that weekend. So I think that's the last time I ever got an invite to the lower deck. Or even the lower deck was in my life was when Mitch reached out.
And because
Mitch reached out. When Mitch reached out. Mitch reached out, yeah.
And so that was like the last, and I loved it because we had the second floor to ourselves and it wasn't packed. It was all friends. But when I go there in a regular like summer and it's just packed, I don't know. Lower deck doesn't live up to the hype. You pay $10 to get in. It is what it is.
That's like the casino. So you drive down Halifax, you look at the casino's billboards. It's a guy in a tux and a girl in a cocktail dress. Everybody's young and attractive. You show up at the casino. Everybody's wearing a fleece with a wolf on it, and they're literally hooked up to an oxygen tank.
I can't wait to get that.
And I kid you not, last time I was at the casino, there was a lady on a slot machine about 3 or 4 machines down, and she grabbed a member of staff when she came back and said, like, "Where's my father?" And this lady was about 90.
Ooh.
And the girl who worked there obviously knew her and was like, "Mildred, like, you know, your father has been dead for 40 years. Like, that's the reality of the casino. It's an interesting place. Bright lights and emphysema everywhere.
Jeez, man. I love going to the casino.
You could win big. Join the Players Club. Oh, and the buffet too. Everybody loves that buffet.
I've never done a buffet.
We are too young for the buffet, Alec. The rule is under 70s are not entitled to go to the casino buffet.
That makes sense why it's just never really called.
And then when we're old enough, we'll spend 6 days with our aging spouse talking about the next buffet. Oh, it's going to be so good. The meatloaf. But the gravy was extra lumpy.
Surf and turf. I'll have a nice little surf and turf.
In fact, it was my mother-in-law. We were over there on the weekend, and we went up after losing Tucker for a couple of days and get out the house. It got very quiet, obviously, very quickly in our house. And she turned to me at one point and said, "What is the obsession with old people and meatloaf?" And she's like, "People keep offering me meatloaf." Because my mother-in-law, I love her to bits. She's not 25. And she's like, everywhere I go in Florida, people are trying to offer me meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
We've got all this to look forward
I
to.
haven't had meatloaf in a long time. There's a lot of food. Like, a lot of these are restaurants. And I mean, listen, this is not my opinion. I'm just reading what this person said. Forward Falcon 3910. Does live up to the hype. Your father's mustache.
I thought I was going to say, does your mum?
That would be clever. I'm going to add that in right now. My name is Crafty Steak 79. Your father's mustache lives up to the hype. I mean, it's good. I wouldn't say there's like a crazy amount of hype around it. I like it during the summer for the rooftop patio, and I know our colleague Billy Mack loves it as well. Shout out Bill. Doesn't live up to the hype. Cora's. Interesting. Someone said Cora's is mid, fruit is high price, and tastes like it wasn't ripe, and the sausages were undercooked.
I was going to say, let's have some sausages and some scrambled eggs swimming in a sea of watermelon juice. I remember when I first came to Canada, the first morning I was in Canada, I went to Cora's. We came to Halifax on my first ever trip. I hadn't even thought of moving here back then. I was a pure tourist, and we went to Cora's, and I remember being 19 years old, so a little bit more of a fussy eater with a smaller palate, and I was served a beautiful breakfast with toast, and under everything was a sort of a layer of warm, runny fruit juice that had leached out of the fruit on the plate. So, last time I checked, I don't like sausages, eggs, and toast with mango juice on them. So yeah, it's thumbs down for Cora's. So we've sort of torn apart everybody there except ourselves. So maybe you want to insult me? I'll insult you.
Say something. Insult me.
Where you're from Spryfield?
Originally, Herring Cove.
You're from Spryfield.
Wow. You have an accent.
Okay. So now we're going to spin this into a much more positive podcast. We have a wonderful guest coming on. We're going to be discussing the JUNO Awards, which are being hosted here, I think by the time this podcast comes out, imminently. And our guest has just walked in, so let's have a chinwag.
Let's do it. And we are back at the Matter of Fax podcast studio. We are here with our special guest today, Allegra Swanson from Music Nova Scotia. Allegra, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
A bit of a background on Allegra. So she's the executive director of Music Nova Scotia, the chair of the host committee for the Halifax 2024 JUNO Awards, which is coming up in March, and the vice chair of the Creative Nova Scotia Leadership Council. Previously, Allegra was the manager of events at CARAS, which is the Canadian Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, and the JUNO Awards, where she worked closely with the executive team to support the strategic direction of the organization, as well as managing the Alan Slate JUNO Masterclass Artist Development Program. Prior to her work with CARAS, Allegra produced over 50 albums in her years running the award-winning record label of the Canadian Music Centre, where she was also director of communications. She helped produce the first annual sold-out seminar supporting women in music during JUNO Week and works with the committee behind the Canadian Creative Industries Code of Conduct, helping to ensure safer spaces for artists during JUNO Week and for 365 days of the year. Welcome, Allegra.
Well, thank you for having me. Sorry that was so long.
No, it's okay.
Quite the bio. We're just like, so John Smith is a cab driver. That's kind of the extent of what we typically have. We're not used to 20 lines here.
Yes.
No, that's good. The better description, the better it is.
Yeah, better the interview's going to be.
Exactly. So starting off, and before we get into the JUNOs, because that's one of our main topics today, and we're super excited about that coming to Halifax, talking a bit about you personally, and you've had quite a path to where you are now, with many accomplishments along the way and different titles. What stemmed your love for music and to pursue a career in this field?
Well, I had parents who were involved in the arts, and so they always were supportive of my direction and interest in music. Always sang in choirs growing up. I played the violin. I found a bassoon at a convenience store while photocopying music one year in the summer, and then decided to try and learn how to play it. And so I played bassoon in the band the next year. And so
Everyone's favorite instrument.
Of course, of course. So I kind of did a few things musically throughout high school. And then when it came time to choose what to do at university, my mom and dad were really supportive in just saying, you know what, try to do the thing you love most. And, the worst case scenario is you find out you get there, you don't like it, and you can switch to something else. But try and follow your passion now. and see where it takes you. And so I was shocked and delighted to get into McGill for voice and thought, well, we'll see where it goes, but ended up sticking it out. And music is such an interesting career path. There really isn't one to any job. It's all over the place, but it's been really fun.
Yeah, like there's no set set direction. Everyone kind of has their own path in that, and it's so nice to be able to merge your passion with your career. I mean, we had Matthew Gorman on who recommended we speak to you, and he was telling us how he did a similar thing. Like his passion is in music, his career is law, and he brought the two together. So it's really cool to see.
You telling me you didn't grow up dreaming of commercial real estate one day?
I didn't dream of it until I was told about it in 2020.
Me too. I was like 27 before I even knew the industry existed. So
I had no idea.
I very much am in awe and envious of people who can fuse the professional life with their passion. Because Alec and I, we throw ourselves and dedicate ourselves into what we do every day. But I will admit, I don't wake up on a Sunday morning and start reading leases for fun. That's off time. So I'm heavily, we always wish I'd taken a career path like that. And part of the reason we're here today, discuss the JUNOs. So when the venue is selected, the host city, they don't just kind of click their fingers and say Calgary. So what did Halifax have to go through? What's the process? How did we land with this selection?
Well, it's interesting because my background when I worked at Caris and the JUNO Awards was actually to be the team to help select the future host city. So for me, it was sort of interesting to be on the other side of it and know hopefully what they would be looking for to kind of ensure we're putting that in our bid for the JUNOs. It's interesting because I think a lot of people are in our city and wondering why the JUNOs chose Halifax or vice versa, why we chose it. And I think one of the things, aside from all the tangible benefits of the excitement during JUNO week and everything it can provide for the artists, it also provides a lot for the city in terms of economic impact. So, certainly I think the province and the city have their own way of deciding how they want to bid on events and the benefit it can provide to the city from an economic impact standpoint, but also from the perspective of how it can attract visitors, how it can attract people choosing Halifax as a place to live. So, being able to showcase the fact that we could secure the JUNOs and we are a city that can put on a cultural event of this magnitude is like a big thing for the city. So, a group of people was assembled to put a bid together. Conversations had been happening actually pre-pandemic. That was put on hold. And I was actually 8 months pregnant and about to go on maternity leave. And they said, do you want to work on this bid with us? And of course, I couldn't say no because of my background. But yeah, I was there with my 2-week-old baby kind of editing the bid to get it submitted by September 13th. I still remember the date. Wow. And my daughter was born on the 17th of August. So it was a busy time. And we found out, within the coming months that we were one of the shortlisted cities. A few more questions back and forth. They came out for a visit and we were selected. And at that point, it turns from a group of people working on the bid to a host committee locally supporting Caris and the JUNOs to execute the project.
Wow. And this isn't our first time hosting either. We hosted back in 2006, I believe it was.
Yeah, 2006.
How old were you then, Alec?
9.
9, okay.
9 years old. But I think my mom...
I was legal drinking age back then.
I was not. I think my mom went, but I was 9 years old, so I had no idea what was happening. How do you think, I know besides the fact that it's nearly 2 decades ago, how do you think this JUNOs is going to differ from our first go around hosting the JUNOs?
It's such a great question. I think like the JUNOs is a different property and we are a different city. So I think those things are both really important to reconcile. The JUNOs does such a great job of being able to capture emerging Canadian talent and showcasing who the next acts are going to be, who are going to take, Canada and the world by storm, and also showcasing some of who those acts are now. So in 2006, there were a lot of acts like Coldplay, Black Eyed Peas, Pamela Anderson was a host. Pamela Anderson being a Canadian certainly is someone who could have hosted this year, based on her reverence in the community right now. But I think that the JUNOs as a whole has really done an incredible job in shifting focus to exclusively Canadian talent. And I think that is a real benefit for us as a city, where we can ensure that we're going to see our own artists and talent represented in a lot of flagship events that they have as well. So to me, you'll have seen that Nelly Furtado's the host and Nelly Furtado's performing, the Beaches are performing. There are a lot of interesting award recipients, but for us, we're really excited about how it's a discovery festival for a lot of people. You know, we're part of the team behind JUNO Fest, and that's the 2-day showcase that's happening across, 10 different bars in HRM. And we have almost finished booking 100 acts for that. And there's one wristband, and you can see all of these different spaces. Yeah. So I think that's one of the most exciting things is we know that there are going to be some famous people who are going to be getting up on stage and, presenting some awards at the broadcast. But really, it's about so much discovery. And I don't know in 2006 how that was necessarily viewed, but I know that's how we're really excited to support it and the direction Karis wants to go to.
So if we take that 18-year period, how has the music industry in Nova Scotia changed? It's 2 decades almost. It's a whole, multi-generation. It's generation. Things have shifted. So are there any major trends, any major differences in that time?
I think for me personally, I've only lived here for 3 years. I moved in the pandemic to take this job. And I have been really grateful to kind of learn how, even just in the last 5 years, the industry has changed so much. So I think one of the things we want to do is we want to continue to support the music that was, top of the charts in 2006, continues to support the way that people view Nova Scotia potentially from an outsider's perspective as a place where we are traditional, like roots Celtic, that kind of trad music. That is still hugely popular and has a great reverence. In fact, one of our nominees, Morgan Tony, this year from Nova Scotia, is a Mi'kmaq fiddler and plays trad music. So it's still a huge part of who we are, but also there's so many other genres that are really coming up and sort of framing who this city is. One being hip hop, rap, R&B, also a lot of electronic and dance music. They're big talent that are calling Halifax home. And so it's
interesting. You
interesting.
Wouldn't expect, and that's great.
I mean, and I think like that has been happening for a long time. Like in North Preston, and certainly other areas in our community from an African Nova Scotian Black standpoint, there have been like the genre of music that has been growing for a long time. And it's that, emerging talent across the entire city that is really what sets us apart from a lot of places in Canada is we have such a vast amount of emerging talent. And so what we're hoping to do specifically with the JUNOs is encourage some additional funding and legacy support for artists so that we can ensure that we are taking that talent pool and taking them from emerging to kind of that mid-career. Like, how can we set up the next generation of talent here in this region? But I think that's one of the major differences is just seeing that development of different genres, support still of the genres that we've always been known for, and showcasing some new talent.
It's so great. I think I have a list here. We have, I think, 7 nominees that are from Nova Scotia for JUNO Awards, including Matt Anderson, who I saw him live a long time ago in a church in PEI, Malpac PEI, and it was unbelievable. It was one of the coolest things I've ever been to because my parents are big fans, but that was really cool. So it's really cool to see the different nominations, electronic recording, blues album, roots album, classic album, like just all these different categories. It's really cool to see that Nova Scotians are stepping up and nominated. So I hope they win. So how do you think this year's JUNOs will play a role in kind of going forward for the future of not just Halifax, but Nova Scotia? Because there's other concerts that are happening, like Ice Cube's going to Truro and these different ones where bigger names are kind of going to different towns and cities. Will kind of put us more on the map so that, artists will add our cities to their tour dates.
I think that it's a great question. Certainly there is an intention in taking a look at the strategy that makes a city a music city. And, there is a UNESCO heritage designation that is being a music city. Whether that's a direction we want to go or not is something for, the community to decide as a whole. But I think it comes to, making it a livable city, making for artists, making it an affordable city, also making the fact that people are coming out here, as you're saying, something that is a chance for them to showcase their talent on a stage like the Scotiabank Centre, but also then kind of go to a few other cities on the way out. So routing a tour out here is something, even with the JUNOs, we're seeing, wanting to ensure that we have other venues. So for me, from a Music Nova Scotia standpoint, what can we do to ensure that we're supporting our existing venues and helping to ensure that there is development that supports new venues being created? So with the Lighthouse Arts Centre, that filled a gap that was certainly missing for a long time in order to have a venue that is bigger than, a small, and then not Rebecca Cohn. There are so few venues in this city. So we want to do our part in ensuring that if an artist is coming to town, it's not just somebody at the Scotiabank Centre, but how can we have Charlotte Cardin with 2 sold-out nights at Lighthouse, the Beaches with 2 sold-out nights? There are certainly development in that area. And as artists come in more to that space, we hope to see them having a positive experience as they would in this city, and continue to share that with, their agents and encourage other folks to come out here too.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of events, and maybe most people do know, but I didn't until I looked into it a bit further when I was looking at getting tickets to the Junos, was that it's not just one night. There's a big build-up, and there's a lot of different events. There's events leading up, the night before, the night of, the after party. I saw there's a fan zone red carpet experience as well. So what sort of events can people expect that the regular Haligonian can be a part of? They don't have to have special access. They can go buy a ticket and go to these special events leading up.
Yeah, I think that's such a great question. And that's a thing I feel like I'm constantly trying to get out there all the time is this is not just for industry, and this is not just a broadcast.
Yeah.
It is so much more than that. And because I used to work there, I really believe it. But then being in the industry now, it's just trying to encourage people to understand that as a fan, yes, you can buy tickets to things, but there are also free events too. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. So, first of all, obviously, JUNOAwards.ca has your full event listing. But for folks who are interested in kind of how can I get through the door, the Thursday, there's a host committee kickoff event that we are announcing soon in detail, which is going to be a giant tent down by the waterfront,
Nice.
And by the time this podcast comes out, I'm sure the news will be out there.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a free event. That is
nice.
a chance for like over 1,000 people to come out and, really have a kickoff of let's set the tone for the week. Let's show the Junos and let's show, the national eye of the music industry that's going to be on this city that we can turn out and support artists. So that's the first night. There are panels, like there's one about stories from the studio that features producer and engineer nominees of the year speaking to anyone, students. That's happening at the Halifax Public Library on the Thursday. The main flagship events kind of throughout the weekend are the Songwriter Circle, which is, known as the Jewel of Juno Week that happens and, features songwriters playing their songs, talking about them, all Juno nominees. That's at the Lighthouse. And the Juno Fest that I mentioned, 2 nights of music across 10 venues. And that's going from 9, in some cases, 9 p.m. till 3 in the morning at certain
There you
venues.
go.
So that's going to be a vibe.
Yep.
And then the interesting thing that happens on the Saturday is actually the opening night awards. Now, that is an industry gala, so that would probably not be for the public, but that's where actually like 35 awards are handed out. So, when you see the Academy Awards and you see previously on other nights, but that's kind of the main one because really, depending on the year, it's between 7 and 10 awards that are given out at the actual JUNO Awards. So really, that's where the base of the music industry.
I did not know that. Okay.
Will gather and
that's
celebrate. Additionally, of course, we have the honoring ceremony for the Indigenous community and showcasing, Mi'kmaq traditions here and acknowledging our presence here in Chibuktuk. But then on the Sunday, the host committee for the first time is putting together an event that's called Celebration Sunday to honor the African, Nova Scotian, and Black community and the history within this region. Of course, you have the JUNO Awards broadcast and the red carpet. And then for the first time this year, there's an after party that is open to public that's going to be at the Grafton Connor Complex or at the Dome, as we know. So that's happening on...
The fancier name for it.
Yeah, exactly. After the broadcast, which is 9 to 11 because we're here.
Where are they doing the
9 to
red
7.
carpet at?
So the red carpet is going to be sort of outside of and into the convention center.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that open to the public or just how's that work?
Yeah, I mean, TBD on that one. I think they're going to be, rope and stanchion and folks watching. People always gather to watch VIP Rivals. And so there'll be a space
Depends how good
for
the
that.
Zoom is on your iPhone.
And the
Alec,
camera, yeah.
And
I'll be down there.
To sort of to wrap this up with an obvious question to end with, because it kind of asks about what happens after the Junos. There is a hope that there is a lasting economic impact on the city or cultural impact that lives on beyond the event itself. Well, what are the expectations there? Is there anything that factors into planning? What can Halifax expect to see when the red carpet's rolled up and the stage is disassembled? Hopefully that isn't the end of the Junos for Halifax.
No, absolutely not. I'm so glad you asked. I mean, for me, that's the thing I'm personally most passionate about. When I moved out to Nova Scotia, that is a permanent move for me. I'm invested in seeing the industry develop and grow here. And as I mentioned earlier, wanting to see the advancement of artists' careers from that emerging to maybe in a few years being the next JUNO nominees again. So at Music Nova Scotia, how can we ensure that we're playing a role to continue to put the case of the JUNOs being this sort of linchpin for forward movement within the provincial and municipal governments and getting additional funding to support the JUNO's legacy. And it's a chance for them to track and show their investment in this bid fee and the industry isn't just a weekend. It's about taking that opportunity and giving artists the tools for additional funding to make the most of that experience. And, you know, maybe they're going to get a new manager, maybe they're going to get an agent, maybe they're putting money towards a new project. Or for us, on the industry side, we're really lacking in the industry infrastructure here. And how can we encourage people through programs to get a mentorship going with someone new? It's actually something we've done with the host committee this year. We have a mentorship program that we created. So when people are coming into town for the JUNOs from outside of the region, they're partnering with local industry to be able to have a mentorship opportunity on the ground and then following, because we really want to train, but then also retain folks to stay here and continue to build the industry.
That's awesome.
Exciting stuff. We're a very lucky city, I think.
Absolutely.
In many ways, this being one of them.
Absolutely. And I do have one more question. This one's from my mom, because my mom's big into music. She plays guitar, she sings, and I said, "Oh, give me one question to ask."
Oh, it's not the free ticket question, because no, you're not getting tickets.
We're going. We're already going.
Oh, you're already going? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I got our tickets for Christmas. We're excited. Blink twice if Shania Twain is doing a surprise performance.
God, I wish I knew. My goodness. That for me is the kind of thing that I think is so exciting. And
they keep that from you too? Like who's?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, we'll maybe find out a day or two
Closer
before
to,
an announcement. But really, that's the thing that I think I'm most excited about, is to encourage folks when they come to town. All these people are staying in downtown Halifax. You know, you literally don't know who you're going to bump into at a bar late night. And that's one of the things that the JUNOs is really well known for, is just creating those moments that are unplanned. That tent down by the waterfront is a great space to say, you never know who's going to show up.
That's all. I love that.
So you need to get down. Is that because if your mother's going to look forward to it more, or if Shania Twain's performing, then we're going to skip?
No, she loves it.
Okay,
more,
did she go to the show here in Halifax?
Yeah, she did with my fiance.
I hear that was a great tour. I know a lot of people that went in Halifax and Moncton and loved it. So so hang around at the tent is what we're taking away from this. Come on down to the big tent.
That is cool.
Never know what you'll see.
Heated tent.
Heated tent.
Even
That's
better.
good.
So yeah,
that's awesome, because it's one of the not problems, but like having a big event. Like for example, the World Juniors. Like before those came, we talked to Amy Walsh with Hockey Nova Scotia and Ross Jefferson with Discover Halifax. And one of the key things is, how do we involve? There's only so many tickets to the event itself. So how do you involve the greater population and everything? I think that tent is a great idea, and I hope it just I'm going to go down to that for sure. That'll be a good time. Hope to see you there, James.
I'll be there.
I know you will.
Know me. You know me in culture.
Yes, absolutely.
Brits in general.
Exactly.
If it's free, we'll be there. Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today, and it was a great conversation. We're super excited about the JUNOs.
Yeah.
Super excited to be going.
Coming up fast.
Coming up quick. March 24th. Am I correct?
That's the big broadcast. But as we said, lots of events
Lots
in the
coming up leading
so
up
let's
to that.
call it 20 to 24.
Anything could happen anytime. Be there.
Very excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Matter of Fax podcast.
But you can get more of us. You can subscribe on any good podcast provider. You can follow us on Instagram at Matter of Fax Podcast. And for all that great feedback and abuse, you can send it by email to halifaxpodcast@gmail.com.
And of course, you can always find James Collins and I on the internet.
Please do get in touch, and we look forward to seeing you next time.